What's up, guys? So I had a request to take a look at some of the more, I guess, smaller phones or compact phones these days. They really don't make compact phones anymore, but these are, I guess, as compact as you're gonna get for 2021. I've used most of these phones, and as somebody who does not have massive hands, these phones won't strain your hands, so that is the main thing. These should be small enough and comfortable enough for people with smaller hands. So right now, your best and smallest pick right now is the iPhone SE 2020. I absolutely love this phone for somebody who wants a compact phone. It is truly a compact phone for 2021. So it's around $377 right now. It's $400 brand new. But the price fluctuates all the time. I've seen this as low as like $350, so just keep an eye on it. Now, it does have an older design. It has the iPhone 8 7 design going on here. Still looks good. The hardware is premium, it's glass and metal, but I guess you can say the front is not like the newest looking design. That was my only issue when they came out with this phone. Other than that, this is an awesome phone. So it's IP67 dust and water resistant. It's got a 4.7-inch display. It's a Retina IPS display, 720p plus, 326 for the PPI. The display is fine. It looks good. Colors are vibrant. Also, it's fairly bright outdoors. I didn't have an issue with that. So really no issues with the display here. It's 720p plus, but on such a small display, it still looks really good to me. You do have the latest version of iOS 14, and you will get updates for years with this phone. Now, you do have the Apple A13 chip. This processor is a beast. This thing flies through applications, multitasking. I mean, this thing does not miss a beat when it comes to just doing anything, pretty much, whether you're gaming or just doing whatever on your phone. Animations, everything runs super smooth on this phone. So that's one of my favorite things about this phone. It's extremely fast. Now, of course, with iPhones, you don't get micro SD support. You're stuck with the 64 gigs of internal storage and 3 gigs of RAM. So if you're somebody that loads a lot of pictures and videos, you might want to look to the cloud to solve that solution. So you do have some pretty nice sounding stereo speakers as well. They have a good mids and highs. They don't distort, good bass on them. So I was really happy with that. Of course, you have your Apple Pay on here, so you can use that, the NFC, and you do have Touch ID on here, which actually works really great in these times with the mask and stuff like that. So Face ID comes in actually really good handy now, and you have a really good camera on here. I guess the only downside is it's a single firing lens, so there's no ultra wide or depth or anything, but the one lens is great for what it is. A 12 megapixel standard. You get 4K video, 24, 30, or 60 FPS. You also get a 7 megapixel selfie camera at 1080p video. Both cameras are excellent. Great detail, good dynamic range, good color. It takes really good photos for this price point. And also, video is super solid on the SE as well. So if you're somebody that likes to FaceTime, or you just want to take video with your iPhone, this is still an excellent video phone too. So you also have not so great battery life. The battery life is like around 4 to 5 hours. It's a 1821 milliamp battery, so it's okay. You definitely are gonna have to charge it by the end of the day for sure, but it's fine. You have 18-watt fast charging, so I really like the iPhone SE. I think for the screen size and the specs with this guy, I think it's worth it. Next is the Samsung Galaxy S10e. This is also a really nice phone. I really love this phone. So it comes in at around $400 as well. I've seen it renewed for that. I'll put all the links down below. But this one has a premium design as well. It's glass back, aluminum frame, IP68 dust and water resistant. And you also have a dynamic AMOLED display. It's HDR10 plus. It's a 5.8-inch display, 1080p, 438 for the PPI. You even have the little punch hole as well, and it's an excellent display. Really beautiful display as far as color. The punch hole is really cool as well, and everything just looks good. The sharp PPI on here at 438 is awesome. Text, colors, video, everything looks awesome on this display here. And you will have Android 11 and One UI 3.0 on this phone. It has a Snapdragon 855 an Adreno 640. So if you check out my gaming video, this thing blows through One UI, and it just does a excellent job with gaming. So whatever you want to do on this phone, it will be able to pretty much kill it. So you do have micro SD support, 128 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM on here. You have really nice sounding stereo speakers as well, and also this phone keeps the headphone jack, which is really awesome. So you do have your fingerprint scanner. It's side mounted, which I think is the best implementation for it. I think it's just the best spot to put it. And this phone does have NFC as well for mobile payment, so it's got really everything you would want, pretty much like a little mini flagship, honestly. You also have an excellent camera setup on here as well, with a dual camera setup, 12 megapixel standard and a 60 megapixel ultra wide. You also get 4K video at 10 megapixel selfie that also shoots in 4K. The cameras on here are beautiful. They're pretty much the same as the Galaxy S10, so it's pretty much flagship level from a couple years ago. But this is just really awesome cameras on here. Good detail, dynamic range, depth of field is there. Everything is really sweet with the S10e's camera. So you're getting a good camera, really good video quality on here as well. And I just love taking photos on here. Colors are always super vibrant and really nice looking. So I guess the one downside with this phone is that you kind of get okay battery life. It's a 3100 milliamp battery, 15 watt fast charging. You also get 15 watt wireless charging as well as reverse wireless charging, so you can charge another device with this phone. And battery life, you get around 6 to 7 hours of screen on time. Again, it depends on how hard you're using your phone, but I was getting around 6 to 7 hours. This is overall a beast of a phone, and again, it's very compact to me. It feels really great in the hand. You're not going to be doing the whole shimmy thing. It's just a really nice feeling phone. Next is the iPhone X. Now you can find this phone for around 400 bucks as well in the refurbished marketplace. I absolutely love this phone. I think it's one of the best iPhones you can buy right now, because I think the price and the spec ratio is just really solid. So it's got still a really nice looking design, stainless steel frame, glass back, it's IP67 dust and water resistant as well. It has a 5.8 inch display, but it's an OLED display. It's HDR10. So that is what I really love about this phone, is that if you look at the iPhone 11, that has an LCD IPS display. This one has an OLED display, and I just absolutely love that. Display just looks so much better, colors and everything. So it's 1125 by 2436 resolution, 458 for the PPI. Display looks awesome. Now, of course, I think most people with iPhones don't really care about the notch anyway, but you do have a notch there. Now this phone does have iOS 14, and this phone should get updates for a couple more years still. It has the Apple A11 chip, and the phone was pretty speedy. I had no issues with speed or gaming with this phone, especially with the iOS 14 update. I think it still runs really great. Of course, again, there's no micro SD support. The base model is 64 gigs of internal storage and 3 gigs of RAM. Again, you can always use the cloud if you want to store more photos and videos on your phone. Now this phone got rid of the headphone jack, of course, so that's missing. You have pretty loud stereo speakers as well too, sound really good, great depth. You just have some really awesome speakers. I've always thought iPhones really have really great speakers. Now you do have NFC with Apple Pay, of course. Face ID is still super fast on this phone, had no issues with it. Now the cameras are still pretty good on the iPhone X. You have a 12 megapixel standard, a 12 megapixel telephoto. I guess the only thing that was kind of a bummer is that there's no ultra wide. They went with the telephoto with this one, and you know, it's okay, but you do have 4K video, a 7 megapixel selfie. Photos look good on here. I had no issues with it. I guess compared to like an iPhone XR and maybe even the SE 2020, I guess it doesn't take as good as photos as those, but as you can see from the pictures, I still think it takes very good detail, really good color accurate, good depth of field. I think it takes still great photos still, and you do have really good video on here as well. So for an older phone, I think it definitely is sufficient for most people. Now you have pretty good battery life on here, a 2716 milliamp battery, 15 watt fast charging, wireless charging as well. I usually can get around 6 hours of screen on time, around 6 to 7 hours. Again, depending on how light or heavy you are, it varies, but I usually can get through the day with this phone, no problem. So overall, the iPhone X is a really solid pick. Alright, so next is the LG V35. So I'm going to kind of cheat here. This has a 6-inch screen, but again, owning the phone, it's a very compact phone still. It still feels pretty small by today's standards, and it's not a phone. It's a phone that I can reach with one hand. I can reach the top of the screen with one hand. So this is still a really good phone, and I think you'll like these specs on here. You can get one new for around like $250. Again, I'll put those links down below. You have a premium design on here. It's aluminum frame, glass back on here. Feels excellent in the hand. IP68 dust and water resistant as well. You have again a 6-inch POLED display, HDR10. This is the only phone on the list with a 1440p display or 2K display. 538 for the PPI. Absolutely beautiful display, color wise and resolution wise. It is a really nice looking display. You do have it is upgradable to Android 10, but it depends on which model you have. If you have the Sprint model, you're not going to get it. But you will have Android 10 on this phone if you get the unlocked or AT&T version. Snapdragon 845 and Adreno 630 is still a really good combo. You can play games pretty much on high. There was nothing that I could not play on this phone. You have micro SD support, 64 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM on this phone, as well as the headphone jack with the quad DAC. So if you have a good pair of headphones, you get a really good audio experience with this phone. You also have NFC on here as well. So this phone has all the little flagship features that you can really want. The fingerprint scanner is on the back. It acts as a power button as well, which is really nice. You do also have pretty good cameras on here still at 16 megapixels standard and a 16 megapixel ultra wide. So I think it still takes very good photos. I think you're getting some really nice punchy colors. You're also getting really good detail, depth of field. These are some really good cameras on here. The selfie camera is 8 megapixel. It also takes very good photos as well. And video is also pretty good on here too. So no issues really with the camera. You'll have some really nice cameras with this phone. So you do get a 3,300 milliamp battery with 18-watt fast charging along with wireless charging. Battery life is surprisingly very good on this phone, even though it has, you would think, a small battery, but you still get a really good battery life, around 7 hours and 30 minutes of screen on time is what I was getting on here. So you can definitely get through the day with this phone. Last is the Pixel 4a. So these are going for around $350 right now, and it's another phone that is around the 5.8 inch margin here, and it has a pretty good spec sheet. You don't have the best design on here. It's a plastic back, plastic frame, so it's not going to feel as premium as the other phones, but there are benefits to plastic. You won't crack as easy, so I guess that's one benefit. But it's a 5.8 inch OLED display. It's 1080p 443 for the PPI. It actually has a little punch hole to give you a more immersive experience. The awesome thing about this phone is that you get the pure stock Android experience. So you get Android 11 and you get fast updates too as well, which is awesome. You also have the Snapdragon 730G processor and the Adreno 618 GPU. So again, this is not going to be like a flagship processor, but you will be able to pretty much play casual games here and there, medium to high settings. This is a decent processor. It's pretty speedy from what I've seen. You do not have micro SD support, but you do get 128 gigs on the base model and 6 gigs of RAM as well. So you do get the headphone jack on here, which I was really pleased to see, as well as NFC for your mobile payments. The fingerprint scanner is a physical one. It's rear mounted as well, and you also get some of the best cameras out there. So you get a 12.2 megapixel shooter, but that's the only lens. You don't get an ultra wide or a depth or anything. So you do get 4K video and an 8 megapixel selfie camera on here. It shoots in 1080p. overall you can some very good photos from what I've seen. As you can see, I put some samples from GSM Arena here, and they look really good from what I'm seeing as well. So battery life on the Pixel is at a 3140 milliamp and 18 watt fast charging. From what I'm seeing, you can get all day battery life with the Pixel, but again, it depends on how well or how hard you use it. So these are my picks. Be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.